Hi, in today's lesson we're going to look at National 5 level standard deviation, and it's another lesson where we're not using a calculator. Okay, so in the first lesson we'll look at the skills that you need to be able to work these out without a calculator. Standard deviation requires some prior knowledge. You need to have a good grasp of using BODMAS or BIDMAS. You need to know your square numbers. It helps to know them up to 15 squared. You need to be very confident at simplifying surds, and also you need to be very comfortable with rationalising the denominator. The standard deviation formula is on the formula sheet when you're doing the paper 1, the non-calculator, and the paper 2, your calculator paper. Okay, it's down at the bottom of your formula sheet. I'm going to be using the first formula because I find this one easier to use when we are doing non-calculator. Okay, now it has been an exam question in the past where it actually specifically told you had to use one of them. Okay, so we need to be careful of that. But in today's video, I'm just going to use that first formula there. Okay, on the screen there's 5 questions for you to try. I will go over each of them. So for these, they're quite small numbers to try and help you just to get a grasp of how to do these with a calculator. I find it useful to, first of all, calculate the mean, and then to write out a table like this, and then to do my standard deviation. So if you want to have a go, pause the video now and try those 5 questions. Okay, so I'm going to start to go over it now. Remember that the mean is written as x with the bar across the top. I'm doing the first one here. I'm adding the numbers together. There are 5 numbers, and that's why I'm dividing by 5. Okay, we end up with 20 over 5. 20 divided by 5 makes 4. And remember, that is your x bar that we've just worked out there. I've put my headers into my table now. X minus x bar, and my x minus x bar squared. Remember this, if we go up to this formula I've got in the corner, it's this part of the formula here, the x minus x bar squared. I've now put my values in. Okay, so it's each of the numbers from the list, I've popped them in there. I started to work out the numbers that need to go into the middle here. So I've written each of my x's in, and I'm going to take away the x bar. Remember, that is the number 4. It's the mean. Okay, so just finish that off with a takeaway 4 there. For the next column, I need to think about what the answer to each bracket would be. Okay, so this is where you need to be good with your negative numbers. I'm going to start to work each of these out. To square something, you multiply it by itself. Minus 1 times minus 1. A minus times a minus makes a positive, and 1 times 1 makes 1. So that's what that looks like when we finish that off. Now, the next bit I'm going to fill in is the number that needs to go in here. Now, I'm going to add these numbers together. Remember that adding is the same as the sum, and that's when we use this notation. It's one of the Greek letters, and we use it for sum. Find the sum of the x minus x bar squared. And again, that comes from up in my formula here. Okay, so I've got my standard deviation formula there now, and we have got a square root that goes right the way over a fraction. Now, this bit at the top here, we worked that out over here to be 4. Oops. N minus 1. N is how many numbers. So we had 5 numbers, so 5 take away 1, that makes another 4. So what we ended up with here is 4 divided by 4 makes 1, and the square root of 1 is 1. So there we go, we've worked out our standard deviation to be 1. In the next slide we'll have the answers, so pause now if you're still working through questions 2, 3, 4 and 5. So the answers are on the next slide, and then I'll go through how to work out each of the answers. Okay, so these are the answers that you should have got. If there's any that you got right, you can just fast forward to any questions that you need to correct, because I'm about to explain them on the next few slides. Okay, so again, the mean, we use this notation with x with the bar on it. To get the mean, I add the numbers together. There are 4 numbers this time, so I'm dividing by 4. The numbers added together to make 40. And then just to finish it off, 40 divided by 4 makes 10. So I just need to start thinking about how to set my table up again. So I've popped in my table headings. X minus x bar, and the x minus x bar squared. Remember, if you forget what to put in, it's this bit here from the fraction. Okay, and the next bit, all I've done here is I've taken the numbers from here and I've written each of them down in the column. Okay, I've got my table set up now. All I've done at the moment is I've just taken the numbers from there, the x's, and I've written them over there again. Remember that x bar is your mean, and the mean we worked out to be 10. Okay, so that's my mean in place now, so I can start to work out the last column. Okay, so first one that we've got here, 8 take away 10 is minus 2, same for the next one, 13 take away 10 and 11 take away 10. So I just need to work out my squares now. Remembering that a negative times a negative makes a positive answer. So that's my square numbers worked out. Notice that all square numbers come out positive. So if we add those together, that adds up to 18. Remember that adding is the same as summing. Okay, finding the sum. And that column there, I was finding the sum of the x take away the mean squared. So that's us nicely set up, because that is the top part of the fraction for our standard deviation. Okay, so I've started to get down my standard deviation formula there. Notice that the square root sign goes right the way across the top and the bottom of the fraction there. Okay, so we've just worked out the top part of the fraction to be 18. And again, n is how many numbers there were. So in our list, 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers in our list. 4 take away 1 leaves us with 3. Okay, within that fraction I can see that, remember this line means divide, 18 divided by 3 makes 6. Now this is where your surds come in, because we don't have a calculator, we have to make sure that we simplify. This is a point at which you think, is there a square number that goes into 6? And apart from 1 there isn't, so we can just leave that one there. Okay, I'm about to start going over question number 3. So again, remember that for the mean we use this notation here. Next line, I'm adding my 4 numbers together. Because there are 4 numbers, I'm dividing by 4. When I add the top together, I get 32. Remember, this line means divide, so we're going to do 32 divided by 4 to get 8. So our mean is 8, or x bar is 8. So I'm going to set up my table next. Okay, so I've got my headers there again, the same ones as before, and if you forget what to do, it's the top part of your fraction there. Okay. When you get to the bottom, we will have the summation sign as well, the sum of all the numbers in the last column. Okay, I'm just going to pop my values in. Okay, so I've taken the numbers from that list and I've put them down there one at a time. Okay, so I'm just starting to work out the middle column here. And I'm remembering that this letter here is the mean. The mean is 8. Okay, so I'm going to take away 8 each time, and I'm going to work out my last column. Okay, so hopefully I've got these right so far. Minus 5 squared, minus 3 squared, 1 squared and 7 squared, so just need to work those out. Okay, remember that a negative number times a negative number makes a positive. So all square numbers come out as positive, okay? Now, if I add all those numbers together, I will get 84. So like I said before, that's me ready. This is the bit I need for the top of my fraction in my formula. Okay, so I'm getting prepared to fill this out now. My number from the table will go in the top. And remember that the bottom of our fraction there has got n take away 1. We've got 4 numbers in our list, so we're going to do 4 take away 1, which gives us 3. Now for these numbers here, I had a wee think, and I was thinking to myself, does 3 go into 84? Because that might help to make things easier. So 3 goes into 8 twice, that makes 6, so there's 2 left over. 3 goes into 24 8 times, so 84 divided by 3 makes 28. But we haven't done anything with the square root sign yet, so make sure you keep writing in your square root sign. I have done an equals, we are not finished. What square number goes into 28? The largest square number it goes into 28 is 4. 4 times 7. The square root of 4 is 2, and I don't know what the square root of 7 is, so that's my final answer. Okay, on to question number 4. I have 5 numbers this time. Okay, let's get started with the mean. Okay, so again, I'm using this notation for the mean. I'm adding my numbers together. I'm adding my 5 numbers together, which is why I'm dividing by 5. The numbers add up to 60. I still need to divide by 5. Okay, and because I know my 12 times table, I can do 60 shared by 5. Okay, maybe you might want to do one of these, and you can get your 12 that way. Okay. Okay, you can see I've started to work on my table now. Again, I've got my table headings there. Again, it's building up towards getting this part of the formula. Okay, the bit with the sum sign. The sum of x minus bar squared, it goes down there. Okay, so I'm going to start to fill my... Okay, so those numbers came from the list over here, and I've just written them down one at a time over here. And then I'm going to start looking at the middle column. Okay, so again, all I've done so far is I've taken the numbers from there, put them there. And what am I going to put in here? I'm going to put the mean in. The mean is over here, and it's 12. Okay, so next thing I've got to be careful of is watch out for negative numbers. Okay, so there we have almost got the last column finished. 11 take away 12 is minus 1, and we have another 11 minus 12 there. Everything else looks fine, so I'll just fill my answers in. Again, remembering that a negative times a negative makes a positive, so all these answers I'm going to fill in are going to be positive. Although some teachers might start an argument saying that 0 is not positive. It's not. 0 is neither positive nor negative. Okay, so last one that I need to do is just to add these all up together to get 6. Okay, so I can start to work on my standard deviation with my 6 on the top. And what number is going to go in the bottom? I had 5 numbers, so I need to do 5 take away 1, which is 4. Okay, now for this one here, can I do 6 divided by 4? Well, yeah, I know it's 1.5 or 1.5, but that's not really helpful if I'm trying to find the square root of 1.5 or 1.5. What I'm going to do for this one here is I'm going to find the square root of 6 and I'm going to find the square root of 4. The square root of 6, I can't actually find that, okay? So the square root of 6, I don't know. But the square root of 4, I know that one's 2. Now that's all I can do with that question there. That's as far as that one will simplify because there's not a square number that goes into 6. Final question, last one. Right, so again, starting from the mean. So again, I'm using the correct notation for the mean, the x with the bar across the top there. Okay, so then I'm adding my numbers together. I'm adding 6 numbers together this time. Therefore, I'm dividing by 6. What do they add up to? They add up to 18. So I've still got to do 18 shared by 6. That's easy enough. 18 shared by 6 makes 3. So our mean is 3. Okay, again, I've set up my table. Remember that this table is building us up towards finding this. Remember that sign there means sum, adding. That's when I add all the numbers in the last column together. Okay, so next job, I'm going to take the numbers from here and I'm going to put them into this column here. Okay, so that's going to look like that. And then I'm going to start to work out the middle column. Okay, so like I've done before, take your numbers from there and start off with those written out again. Okay, and what's going to go in here are x bar, which is 3. Okay, so I put my 3's in and I can start to work on that last column now. Okay, so again, I'm being very careful with my negative numbers. 2 take away 3 is minus 1. 1 take away 3 is minus 2. Again, 2 take away 3 is minus 1. And again, we've got a positive 1. Now remember, when I square each of these, they're going to come out as positive answers. A negative times a negative makes a positive. Okay, that's what I got when I did my squaring. So last thing for me to do at the moment is to add those together. So I can see that that makes 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Oops. So I'm starting to think about my formula. On the top of my formula is the sum, which we worked out over here to be 24. And the number that goes on the bottom, there were 6 numbers in total. Okay, there's 6 numbers in the list. 6 take away 1 makes 5. So next I'm going to think about 24 divided by 5. Now 24 is not in the 5 times table, so we can't do that divide, so I'm going to deal with those separately. Square root of 24 divided by the square root of 5. Now, I haven't written the 24 in because there's something I noticed about the 24. 24 has a square number that goes into it. 4 times 6 makes root 24. Okay, there's something else that I must do to this as well. We have to irrationalise the denominator. Okay, we're not supposed to leave a third on the bottom of a fraction. So take the third on the bottom and multiply the top and the bottom by that third. Okay, now on the bottom, hopefully, I'm just going to do a wee bit at the top, hopefully you know that root 5 times root 5, you've multiplied it by itself, so you've squared it. Now what's going to happen here is that square root and square are going to cancel each other out there, so it's just going to come out as 5. Okay, now on the top, let's have a look at the top. I know that the answer to the square root of 4 makes 2. Okay, so I've just done this bit. The answer to the square root of 4 makes 2. The answer to the square root of 6, I don't know. The answer to the square root of 5, I don't know. So I'm just going to multiply those together. 6 times 5 is 30, which means that root 6 times root 5 makes root 30. Now, at this point here, please don't cancel down the root 30 and the 5 together, okay? You can look to see if the 2 and the 5 cancel down, but the root 30 would need another root on the bottom to cancel down with. So it's whole numbers and whole numbers go together when you want to cancel, and your roots would need another root to look at before you cancel down. So that's actually the final answer there. Okay, so if you got all of those correct today, that's brilliant, well done. If you would like to do some more practice, there are some more questions on the next slide. Plenty of practice there for you, so you pause the video if you want to pick some questions out and practice finding your standard deviation.